very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Sports Tonight. This is the Thursday night edition of the show. It promises to be fun-filled, exciting, as always. Of course, you know, on Thursdays, we spend plenty of time to look at basketball. Tonight will not be any different. We'll be taking a very comprehensive look at basketball on the domestic scene. Yemi Adebayo and Femi Adefeso will be doing that for us towards the end of the show. We'll be going courtside with Yemi and Femi. That will be later on Sports Tonight. So you can catch up with all the latest news around domestic basketball on the continent. They will serve that to you on Sports Tonight, courtside. That's later on the show. But we're going to be taking a lot of basketball as well on the foreign scene. Expectedly, we'll be going to Washington to link up with our friend Sonny Young. He'll be giving us a comprehensive review and, of course, a preview of the NBA playoffs already at the business end. Before we do all of that, let's also tell you that there is plenty of football on the show tonight. There is also plenty of discussions around that big event currently going on, Channels National Kids Cup Season 6. We'll spend plenty of time to look at that as well. Austin Okonakpan will be joining me later on to talk about all that happened today. If you didn't see and you didn't come to the Agege Stadium, you missed that on a lot. But we'll try to get to some of the highlights of some of those goals and the games played at the Channels National Kids Cup opening day of that competition. We will also, later on the show, spend some time to reflect on the Globe Premier League. Dunmadi Okonta is standing by somewhere. He'll be joining me to do that on Sports Tonight. But let me tell you that starting on Sports Tonight with me this Thursday, Tunde Koiki is on the show, and together we'll take a look at a lot of other issues, particularly the build-up to the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. So let me welcome Tunde to Sports Tonight this Thursday. Tunde, good to have you on the show. We're really building up to the World Cup. But interestingly, we are split between stories about teams preparing and how Brazil is not preparing. And that's just the hallmark as we build up to this World Cup. But before we go into the discussions, let's also tell you that we need you to be a part of what we're doing via feedback. Give your opinion to the issues that we raise on this program through those platforms showing on your screen. Talk to us via Facebook, Channels iPhone Sports, and talk to us as well via Twitter at Channels_Sports at Toyinbichoye. That's my handle. You can go on and tell us what you feel. A lot of issues that we've talked about and we've outlined for you on the program tonight. Go there and talk to us about those things and let us make this show as interactive as possible. So we're waiting for you. Please, let's do it together. Tunde, how many days to go now? 21 days to go.
Exactly 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's coming fast and furious. Before you know it, it will be D-Day. That's what we're waiting for. Waiting for D-Day. But we are building up 21 days to go to the World Cup. And interestingly, the stories about the teams preparing on one side, injury worries and all of that. But the major story is how Brazil is not preparing for the World Cup. The first story we want to talk about, the police in Brazil, as opposed to maintain law and order. That's supposed to be the primary responsibility and ensure that over 500,000 people that will be coming to Brazil for the World Cup, including the countries already residents already, over 350 million Brazilians are already there. Enjoy their time at the World Cup like Brazilians do when they go outside of Brazil for the World Cup. But what is this story about the police in Brazil? They are going on strike.
Well, it's just another particularly sad tale.
And they're not going on strike for just 1 hour.
No, 24 hours.
24 hours, the whole day.
And I tell you, you and I,
the country known for...
Even though you and I are not criminals, we know it takes less than an hour for a proper crime to be perpetrated.
An hour? A few seconds.
And now we're talking 24 hours. And for a country that we said here yesterday, that has 14 cities in Brazil are listed among the most dangerous cities in the world. Now the Brazilian police, 14 cities in Brazil. Some of them are part of these host cities as well. And these cities are listed as some of the most dangerous in the world. Not only for residents, but visitors alike. And now the police force are now going on strike. It just goes to show just how badly the Brazilians have handled preparations for the World Cup. The police are also claiming the issues regarding time off, salaries and emoluments and things like that. So it's just a huge cluster of I don't know bad news that just continues to trail preparations for the Brazilian World Cup. This goes in line with the teachers too, also protesting the other day as well. The bus services also are protesting as well. Homeless people are also protesting as well. The only people that have not protested are the prostitutes, because they are hoping that their business is coming.
Let's not look too much into the angle of the prostitutes right now. But what could be the worst possible scenario for Brazil during the World Cup with all of this crisis that we're seeing right now? What could be the worst possible scenario?
The worst possible scenario is that we'll see a militarized World Cup. When I say militarized World Cup, I mean a World Cup that everywhere you look, you see heavily armed men, you see anti-riot tanks, anti-riot police, which is, it negates the spirit of the World Cup. It's usually
and those stories coming are teleguided in some way.
Exactly.
Don't go beyond
don't go after dark. Yes. Don't walk alone.
And then you just come down off people from certain places and limit them to some certain areas.
Which is a problem, because tourists naturally like to explore everywhere. It is where you say they shouldn't go, that is exactly where they want to go. Especially our brothers in Europe and the Western world, they like to explore anything and everything. But like we said, the biggest weapon that the Brazilian government can have during this World Cup is the Brazilian national team. Once they begin to win, and they win well, they play excellent football and win well, then these protests will die down.
Is this some kind of pressure on the Brazilian national team?
It is massive pressure.
Is this some pressure on FIFA? Is this some pressure on referees?
It's pressure on everyone. It's pressure on everyone. It's pressure on FIFA, because now they are beginning to rethink that, why did we give it to Brazil in the first place? Yes, they're the home of football. Yes, they are, they always they're 5-time winners of the World Cup. But did they really deserve to get this? There's also the Brazilian government as well. Have we done enough in order to guarantee that everyone who comes for this World Cup will be secure?
All right, let's talk about the football now, and let's talk about what you're seeing on your screen. It's Uruguay, South American champions, favorites to maybe do as well as they did in 2010. But then they've suffered a blip of late, and all eyes will be on one man to turn things around. Interestingly, it's Luis Suarez that is a major doubt now.
The man is always never far from the news.
For a major doubt now for the World Cup.
Yeah, according to what we heard, we all know Luis Suarez, top scorer in the English Premier League last season, multiple award winner from both the players and football writers, and also from the players as well. But we are now hearing that he could. There were initial fears that he could miss the World Cup because he has some injury to his meniscus in his right knee. According to reports we heard, the striker suffered intense pain in training on Wednesday and has had an operation to repair meniscus damage. It is a keyhole surgery, which means just a small incision was made into the side of his knee and the surgery was carried out. And from what we hear, estimates of his recovery range between 15 days to a minimum of 4 weeks. Yet Uruguay's opening match is on the 14th of June. But the thing about it, the recovery of this kind of surgery and the time taken to return to full function is dependent on the individual patients, the characteristics, how his body responds to treatment, the type of operation performed, the extent of the injury, whether there were any unexpected complications. So it's all these things that they are projecting. It's not cut and dried. It might be 3 weeks, it might be 14 days, it might miss the tournament entirely. But for England, I'm sure they're not complaining. He's going to be the tormentor in chief, considering the fact that they're in the same group as well. So, Uruguay is supposed to line out Luis Suarez and Edison Cavani. So if Suarez misses out, it just makes their work easier for them.
All right, so we'll keep our eyes on that story. The hope of Uruguay surely will be Luis Suarez, and if he misses out, that's some huge setback for the South Americans. Let's talk about the French team now. They were zeros in 2010. I mean, it was a terrible World Cup for France. I mean, on the heels of a fantastic tournament in 2006, where they lost on penalties to eventual winners Italy. The French have to rebuild for this World Cup. And what do you expect from the French? Already, little controversy about some players excluded, but Didier Deschamps says, look, I want to take the best team available, not necessarily the best players.
Well, in 1998, I think former coach Émile Jacquet did the same thing. He did not include Eric Cantona, neither did he include David Ginola. These were arguably some of the best, most talented French players at that time. Didier Deschamps has just followed that script. Now, Patrice, I beg your pardon, Samir Nasri, and also the left fullback who also plays for Guy Clichy, arguably some of the most talented players around. But Samir Nasri has a reputation for being disruptive. And that can be very dangerous going into a competition where you have 23 players housed in a closed environment for a certain duration. So anything can happen. There can be a breakdown in team discipline, team morale, and considering the fact that they performed atrociously at the last World Cup. Remember the problems that the former coach Romain Domenech had to deal with: mutiny, players refusing to train, players banned. I mean, it was unbelievable that a team like the French could be subjected to such could subject the world to such unfortunate things on the global stage. So they have a major reputation to rebuild as being a team that can hold its own, a team that can keep all its players together in competitive mood for the duration of the World Cup. So right now, what Didier Deschamps is trying to do is to ensure that he has a core of team who stay loyal and who stay focused throughout the World Cup.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Russia. Russia are very significant in this World Cup because after 2014, the next World Cup we'll have will be in Russia in 2018. And so we need to see Russia. They need to be prominent in 2014. And the man that is in charge of Russia is pretty experienced. Fabio Capello is the man with the responsibility of leading Russia to maybe their best World Cup performance ever in Brazil 2014. But what do you see from the Russians? What are we expecting? They've named a squad made up of players based in Russia. Fabio Capello believes
only one outside Russia.
Only one outside Russia.
Denis Cherchev, 23-year-old midfielder who plays for Sevilla, is the only player who plays outside Russia. But every other player there plays for Dynamo Moscow, CSK Moscow, the usual suspects. Some of these players have been uncapped, like Pavel Moglivets, who plays for Rubin Kazan. He's 21 years old. He's a midfielder, has never been capped. Some have a single cap. So it's a mixture of the old and the new. Some of the faces there are ones we already know as well. Alexander Kozakov, the captain and goalkeeper as well, Igor Akifev. So it's a mixture of players that he would like to see going forward towards 2018 if he's still in charge by then, and players who can do the Russian national team proud at this World Cup as well. Interesting mix. The fact that many of them are predominantly based at home helps his cause because he's been holding a series of training camps with them over a period of time. He has gotten to know them pretty well, and the players are also quite familiar with his methods as well. And if we know Fabio Capello being the astute coach, astute tactician that he is, some have issues regarding his man management, but the thing about him, he always delivers, always gets the job done. I think Russia might just be a dark horse in this competition. Not to write them off. If they don't do well now, you can be sure that in 2018, they'll be a major force.
Let me just go on to Twitter now and read some of your comments very quickly. Odinaka Frank says, if it's an African country that is hosting the World Cup and is experiencing all of these setbacks, I'm sure the whole world would have called for the cancellation of the tournament or a postponement of the tournament. Very, very true. South Africa, I mean, we're very seamless with the preparation. Everything was on time, was on point. And up till the day that the World Cup kicked off in South Africa in 2010, people were still asking questions about, let's put the country on standby. Let's put the country on standby. But look at Brazil. I mean, look at what's going on. If it was an African country, I'm sure the story probably would have been different.
I think FIFA shot themselves in the foot because persistently they told everyone that plan A is Brazil, plan B is Brazil, plan C.
So it's difficult. It's too late to have a change.
It's impossible.
We're stuck with Brazil, and to Brazil we shall go. Raji Adekunle says, when will the Super Eagles of Nigeria open camp? The Eagles are opening camp on Sunday. They are opening camp on Sunday. And so for Nigeria, preparations for the 2014 World Cup begins on Sunday. Already the plans are on. The team will be traveling out on Sunday, and so preparation for the World Cup for Nigeria will begin on Sunday. All right, we'll come back and read a few more comments on Twitter, but it's time for us to switch on to something else now. I must thank you today for your time on the show. We'll switch gears now, and during the break, we'll bring you highlights of Channel's National Kids Cup Season 6 opening day. Plenty of goals on day one. We'll bring you the highlights, and of course, we can't but say thank you to Golden Penny Foods, Food for Champions. We can't say thank you enough to them. We can also not say thank you enough to OGC Foods and Beverages, makers of La Sena water. for the support that they've shown to Channels National Kids Cup, and of course the Delta State government have also been tremendous with the support that they've given to Channels National Kids Cup Season 6. So let's go on this break. When we return, it will be time for Channels National Kids Cup. Austin Okonakwan will be joining me on Sports Tonight.